Let's start with the blending technique. I want you to draw a ribbon with high points and low points across your paper. And I'm going to add a little fold onto mine. Now we want to fill the entire ribbon in with the lightest value, but I want a nice smooth texture. So I can use my pencil and go multiple directions. I can also use the scumbling technique and go in circles. Use very light pressure. And don't be afraid to turn your paper. Blending is when we layer one value over the other. So I want you to look at the high points and the low points of my ribbon. I'm going to add my middle value into the high point here, as it looks like it's going away from me. And I'm going to leave this low point with just the lightest value and not really touch it with the middle value. So taking the middle value pencil, I'm going to run across this area and add some value. Now notice it looks sloppy. I can see an edge that's not blended. I want to then use my pencil as lightly as I can and start to pull that value down along the ribbon, but very lightly, multiple directions, so that it will blend in with the lighter value behind it. If you get an edge like that, use your pencil going with diagonal strokes back and forth across that edge as lightly as possible, and it will start to break up the edge. See how the edge is starting to just kind of disappear. But be careful to not create another edge over here. And I'm going to come over to this side. I'm going to add a little of my middle value as well. But I'm not going to come out as far into that turn. Now I might need to go back with my lightest value and go over top of this middle value to help it blend. You got to work out all of those edges and stripes. Then I'm going to go ahead and get my darkest value. I'm going to add value just in that tight corner. And once again, it creates kind of a line or stripe. So I need to blend that edge out. So I'm using diagonal lines back and forth across the edge to break it up. Now my middle value went to here and to here. My darkest value is going from here to here. I might need to grab my middle value and come back and go over top of the edges of that dark value. And I may even want to take my lightest value and come back and go over top of the middle value to keep that blending nice and gradual. I'm still using very light pressure because each layer adds some waxiness. And because colored pencils are waxy, they will get to the point where you can't add any more to that layer. Now I'm going to take my middle value, I'm going to work on this back corner. It's just going to start in the corner and kind of work its way out, getting lighter and lighter and lighter. And then I'm going to go to this back corner and do the same thing. Start in the corner and get lighter as it comes out. Then I'm going to take my darkest value. Start in the corner, work its way out, but not go as far out as the middle value. So where my middle value went to here, my darkest value is going to go about to there. And for those tight folds, I'm adding a little more darkness right in the folded area. Let's move on to hatching. Hatching is where we use close marks to add value. So over here, remember when we tried our marks, hatching marks and cross hatching marks? I'm going to use cross hatching for mine. So I want you to draw a circle about 2 inches in diameter. And go ahead and fill that circle with the lightest value pencil. Use light pressure. And we want multiple lines to have a smooth texture. Now, determine where your light source is going to be. I think I'll have my light source coming this way. I'm going to take my middle value pencil and I'm going to add cross hatching marks in the shadow core area. Remember that the values on a sphere curve. They curve as a kind of a scoop towards the light. So that's where my shadow core would be, my cast shadow running opposite of my light source. I'm going to take these hatch marks and I'm now going to move them towards my light. I'm going to move the marks farther away from each other, and I'm going to do even lighter pressure. Then I'm going to move the opposite direction towards my cast shadow, remembering to protect reflected light. My reflected light should not be as bright as my highlight, but it should be lighter than the shadow edge and shadow core. Now I'm going to take my darkest value and I'm going to come across my shadow core once again. Then I'm going to add more marks, moving towards the highlight, but move those marks farther away from each other, and lighter pressure. Then I'm going to go the opposite direction. For the hatching or cross hatching, we want to see hatch and cross hatch marks. We want those marks to create the different values that show us the form of what you're drawing. So we're drawing a sphere, so we want those hatch marks and cross hatch marks to give us the form of that sphere. I'm going to add some value into my cast shadow. And come back with my middle value. Add some value into my cast shadow. Notice by layering the middle and the darker value on top of each other, the cast shadow has a much richer value to it. I come back into my sphere, add a little more value to the reflected light. I'm using my middle value pencil right now. So I want to see a gradual shift in values with the hatch marks as the value or the light travels across the sphere. For our last technique, we are going to try burnishing. Now, burnishing is really the same as blending, only you go over everything with a white colored pencil at the end. So go ahead and draw a simple subject about 2 inches in size. Go ahead and fill that subject in with your lightest colored pencil. Light pressure, going multiple directions with your pencil to smooth it out. Then I'm going to use my middle dark pencil. I'm going to start building my values onto my form. Remember, I don't want to stripe. I want it to blend. Then I'm going to take my darkest value pencil. Start adding my darkest values. Light pressure, blending. Once again, I might want to take my middle value, go back in, break down any edges. So there's a nice gradual shift in value. Might want to take my lighter value, go back in, layering multiple layers, creating that nice gradual shift in value. I'm just going back and forth with my layers. I might even want to come on, do some like stippling marks with my middle or lightest value. That could be an interesting texture to add in. I'm going to go over the top once I've added all my values with white. And I'm going to press kind of hard. And what it's going to do is it's going to give it kind of a glossy, blended look. So here I'll go over the tail. And I'm pressing kind of hard with my white. And if you look carefully, it's blending all of that together and giving it kind of a glossy look. So for burnishing, go over the top of your entire form with white colored pencil, pressing down with a little bit of pressure so it makes it glossy and all kind of smeared together.